Today is Saturday, April 17th, 2021. My name is Serena Ruiz. I'm interviewing Naomi Gutierrez for the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. Please know, Naomi, that this recorded interview will be placed in the Nettie Lee Benson Latin American Collection at the University of Texas at Austin and the Brown University Library's digital repository. If there is anything you do not wish to answer or talk about, I will honor your wishes. Also, if there is a topic that you want to talk about, please bring it up and we can discuss it. Participation in this study is completely voluntary and you are free to withdraw from the interview at any time. Because we are not conducting this interview in person, I need to record you consenting to participate in this interview. I will ask you a series of 5 questions. Please say yes, I agree, or no, I do not agree after each one. Voices of a Pandemic wishes to archive your interview along with any other photographs and other documentation that you wish to contribute at the Benson Library at UT Austin and Brown University's digital repository. The Voices Oral History Project will retain copyright of the interview and any other materials that you choose to donate. Number 1, do you give Voices of a Pandemic project consent to archive your interview and your materials at the Benson Library and Brown University Library's digital repository?
Yes.
Number 2, do you grant the Voices of a Pandemic project copyright over the interview and any material that you choose to provide?
Yes.
Do you agree to allow Voices of a Pandemic to post this interview on the internet via the Voices Oral Histories Center's YouTube channel where it may be viewed by the public?
Yes.
We have many questions in a pre-interview form that we have already filled out. We use that information from the pre-interview form to help in research. The entire form is kept in a secure server at the University of Texas, Austin. Before we send your information from the pre-interview form to the Benson Library, we would have stripped out any contact information for yourself or your family members. So that will not be part of your public file. Your public file will only be accessible at the Benson Library. Number 4, do you wish for us to share the rest of your interview in your public file to researchers at the Benson Library?
Yes.
Number 5, on occasion, the Voces Oral History Center receives requests from journalists who wish to contact individuals who have participated as narrators in oral history interviews. The Voces Oral History Center only responds to reputable news outlets. Do you give consent for Voces to share your phone number or email with journalists that are interested in your story?
No.
Thank you for agreeing, and we will begin the interview now. So to start off, tell me a little bit about yourself. What is your name? Where are you from? Where do you go to school? What year are you in? And what is your intended field of study?
My name is Naomi Gutierrez. I am from Aurora, Illinois. Um, I currently study at Brown University. I'm a first year and I'm currently undecided in my field of study.
How did you first learn about COVID-19 and what was your initial reaction?
I think I first learned about it like when the new year started. I'm pretty sure like that was one of the first like major news that came out. And I knew about it, but I never expected it to really get here like that or like get here that fast. Um I was I was shocked when like it did become a big thing in the United States. And obviously like that last day that they sent us home at school. Um I was shocked but not too shocked because I knew that like it was a serious like condition. I knew that in Europe, like they were, and in China, it was just really bad. So I assumed that even if it got here, it would be really bad. And yeah, I wasn't too surprised, but I was surprised that it's lasted this long.
At what point and how did you realize that this was serious?
Um, I guess I realized after like a couple months when we weren't getting notified about like coming back to school or like events starting up, and like the cases just kept going up, and I'm pretty sure they're still kind of going up right now. So yeah, I guess that was when I first realized it, when everything kind of just stopped and we weren't hearing any news about going back to normal.
So you mentioned school a couple of times. You were a senior when COVID-19 hit, right?
Yeah.
So how was your senior year impacted and how did you feel?
Um well, it kind of like ended really abruptly. Um it was just like this week, and we were hearing of like kids in other schools getting COVID, and like teachers not going to school because of COVID in like other districts. And we were hearing of other districts closing down that week. So then it was like a Friday, and we were all assuming that like the same thing was going to happen. But they told us we were going to come back in like 2 weeks. So then like everyone was just kind of like, because it happened during spring break. So we were supposed to like get a week and then our spring break and then come back. So everyone was just kind of waiting to like come back because that's what they left us off on. Um, yeah, it ended really abruptly. I was a senior, and it ended like right before anything that like senior related happened. So we didn't get a prom, we didn't get graduation. Um, and my school is like really big. So I graduated with about 700 other kids. So it was really hard for them to try to organize something safe for us. So all we really got were like some signs and like a little like drive by, but that was pretty much it. Yeah, that was my senior year, I guess.
So when you heard the news that you were kind of getting that extended week, how did you feel in that moment without knowing, before knowing that you weren't going to go back, but just thinking that you were going to have that extra time? How did you feel?
I was really excited. I mean, I was excited for the extra time because I just remember being really tired of senior year and just needing like this break before like finally saying goodbye to school, or to high school. So I was excited about it, but then it just kept getting extended, and then yeah.
So when you realized that you kind of weren't going to go back, how did you feel about that?
I mean, part of me was definitely sad. I mean, it's sad that you're missing like a big part of your high school career, and it didn't feel like we were being sent off properly. So it was definitely kind of sad. And also just knowing that there were just some people at school you weren't really going to see again, especially me because I was going to be going away for college, like out of state. So it was kind of sad, but at the same time, I feel like I definitely got to spend more time with my siblings and like just being with my family more before I had to leave for college. So that was also like I wasn't always sad because of my senior year ending. Yeah.
Okay, so you went to an underfunded public school, right?
Yes.
Can you talk about the transition to online learning?
It's been really hard. Um, like I didn't know how much I was used to learning like face to face and being in a physical classroom until we had to do online learning. Um, and it was also really difficult because at least for first years, Brown gave us like an optional class in the fall, so we didn't have a whole semester. We just had like either take an optional class or don't. And I didn't end up taking one, and I just worked. So I was kind of out of school for like I don't not a whole year, but almost a year. So like having that and having to transition into online school was definitely a challenge for me.
Can you talk about how your high school kind of handled that online transition? And also maybe talk about were there things that you needed access to that you maybe didn't have access to, such as like a workspace, computer, internet, anything like that that maybe you want to talk about.
Yeah, so my high school like transitioned into online learning. Like it basically felt like we just didn't have any more school. I guess that's part of like the underfunded public school. It just kind of felt like I didn't have school anymore. And I was in AP classes, so all I really had to worry about at the end of the day were my AP tests. Like that's what our teachers were telling us. They were like, at this point, just like use the time to study for your AP test, and we don't really have any more assignments. So that was pretty much what that was. I remember doing a couple like online classes for my gym class, like some problems for math, and that was pretty much it. I don't, other than like our my AP tests.
Were there any challenges during this time that you encountered because of that, like trying to switch onto online?
Um, Not that I remember, but I just remember like more freaking out over my AP test, not really about my classes because my teacher seemed pretty understanding about the situation. So it didn't felt I didn't feel like stressed out academically about my classes. I just remember being like stressed about my tests. Yeah. There wasn't really that many challenges with it because they were just being really lenient.
Do you feel that that kind of affected your learning and the way that you were learning?
Definitely. I mean, I think it definitely did affect it. I mean, there were some things that we were supposed to learn that we just didn't get to. And so um, it almost was like I wasn't learning for a month, um, or like I guess almost more than a month. But yeah, I wasn't really learning for more than a month. And I mean, I guess like it could set me back like in future classes in college, but yeah, I don't really remember feeling I don't remember feeling like I was being like unproductive. I guess like I felt fine, but yeah, I wasn't learning anything in those months.
So now that you have started your first semester, well, not it's ending now, but having started your first semester of college, how do you feel the transition to college during a pandemic has been, and what hardships have you encountered, especially being like a first gen low income Latina at a predominantly white institute?
I definitely had a hard transition into college. My first semester had a lot of ups and downs. During just like doing it during a pandemic is like horrible because you're not getting that connection with other students. You're not getting that connection with professors. Like it almost felt like we were just being like placed in a location, given a room, and like was like, okay, find your way around. So like it almost felt like we didn't have that connection, but at the same time, like I did make a lot of like great friends there. I did learn a lot in my first semester, but it definitely came with a lot of ups and downs. Um, I think like your first semester of college is already really hard, and just like adding the pandemic on top of that is difficult. Um, there's like a lot. I mean, like just staying inside all day, having to do classes online was hard. Like not feeling connected to classes because I didn't really know my teachers that well. Things like that. And also just like not getting to be able to see all of Brown's campus felt weird. Um, yeah, that's pretty much.
Do you think there's anything that maybe Brown could have done better in order to kind of make that transition a bit easier, or just anything in general that could have been done better to help you?
Yeah, I think there are definitely some things they could have done. I mean, just like it's hard because I do really like my advisors and like my academic team and everything, but sometimes it felt like there was information that we just really didn't know about, and like information that just got like spread by word, and we would just find out things here and there. Um, I mean, the academic services were there, and I know they were there. I know all the services were there, but it almost felt like really hard to reach out, especially like since we're virtual. So I guess like something Brown could have done is like just reached out, like in general, just tried to reach out to every student like on their own instead of like at least once or twice or something. I don't know, but yeah. I mean, I'm not too much of an expert of like how to help kids' educations and stuff, but I know that there are some things Brown could have done to make things better for us.
How do you feel COVID has affected socializing and making friends in college? And how do you feel about that?
It's definitely made it hard. I mean, like COVID is serious, so you can't really hang out with like everyone like the way that we used to. Um on one hand it's made it hard because it makes it hard to just like get to know everyone. Like I got to know everyone in my building, but it felt really hard to get to know people in other buildings just because like there was no way you could really like interact with someone that way unless you were doing it on social media. Um and then I guess like everyone had different like levels that they were comfortable with COVID. So sometimes your levels just wouldn't match with someone else's. So it was just like really hard to get to know that person because you had different like comfortable levels. Um yeah, I mean, there really wasn't a lot that we could do safely because of COVID. So we definitely missed out on that. We missed out on a lot of just events that the school would have normally held. Um so yeah, it definitely was not that great, but there was some great people in my building, so I felt fine, and I'm hoping that the next years will be fine too.
Okay, so now kind of moving away from the topic of schooling and more into the topic of healthcare. Has COVID affected the way you and your family get healthcare?
Um, Not really. My yeah, not real, not too much. We get our healthcare through my mom's job, and she still has a job, so that's good. I guess the only thing is like because of COVID, there sometimes the doctor just won't want to see us because they're like scared. So I remember one time I was like sick. I'm pretty sure I didn't have COVID. I had like a cold, but I needed like a doctor's note to go back to work saying it was just a cold. And I remember the doctors like couldn't see me because I had COVID symptoms. So I guess like that in that aspect it was hard. Um, but yeah, no, my but yeah, our healthcare in general, our healthcare insurance is fine. But my dad is still able to see his doctor. My mom still sees her doctors, so in that aspect, we're good.
During sort of like the midst of the quarantine, did you or any of your family members ever have sort of a health complication that made it hard to seek healthcare?
Yeah, so I remember during COVID, my mom, it happened like later on. So this happened like in September, October, maybe. My mom was getting like pains in her stomach, and it ended up being she had like some like stones in her gallbladder. And I remember that we took her to the hospital, and they were like seeing her for a bit. And I remember she had to get I think she was there for like a week because she had to get COVID tested. So she got like a rapid test that they got back in like 24 hours. And then she had to get like another one. So she had to get like COVID tested before they could really like see her and like treat her. So she spent like 2 extra days like before they could even do anything in the hospital. So she was there for a while. And it was hard for us to see her because of COVID. Like only one of us could go in at a time. Um, and I remember like their hours were really limited, so we really couldn't get to see her in that week.
Has COVID also had any impacts on your mental health or maybe the mental health of your family?
Um, I yeah, I think COVID definitely has affected my mental health a lot. Um, Definitely just like not getting to see as many people as I used to has affected my mental health. Like not getting to see my friends all the time, or even like my teachers. Like even being out of school, I would still like have gone to see my teachers. So like not being able to see as many people as I used to. Um, like being inside all day because of COVID has affected my mental health, and just like I guess college and the pandemic has been really stressful for me as well. But and I know it has affected my sister a lot, because she's working from home. So it definitely took her a while to like find that balance of like working from home and like still being productive, but it took her a while. Um, yeah, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. My parents still have their regular routine, they still go to work. Yeah.
Do you feel that during the lockdown and during quarantine, um, that maybe there were any effects like on your routine and maybe the way you did self care, such as maybe like eating habits or exercise, sleeping habits, or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean lockdown like changed everything. You really couldn't do much. Um yeah, because I mean I was always used to just like exercising every day at school. So like um I wasn't really exercising when lockdown came, and so then like that affected my eating habits. So I remember just like eating like meals here and there. Um and I remember our only routine was really like wake up, try to like do something, eat, um and then sometimes my sister and I would literally just like go to Walmart and like get snacks and come back and watch a show. And that was like our whole routine during lockdown. Um, Sometimes I'd go on walks, but yeah, I mean, it basically affected everything that we did.
Have you or someone that you know gotten COVID and how did that affect you?
Yeah, so my dad had gotten COVID. I think I really don't remember when he got it, but he was the first one in our family to get it. Um, it happened like probably in November. I think he got COVID. And it didn't really affect me because I wasn't, I mean, I don't think I was working. I don't remember. But it didn't really affect me. But I remember my brother had to like call off of work because, like, if your family, someone in your family gets COVID, then like you can't come into work. But yeah, my dad, surprisingly, my dad did not get hit that hard with COVID. Like it really only hit him for a day, and then like he was just feeling kind of like tired the rest of the days, but he stayed home. Um, but yeah, I'm like surprised it passed him because he also has like he doesn't have diabetes, but he's like getting there. So I was surprised that he was fine when he got COVID, and then my mom got COVID in early January, like end of December, early January, before like right like the week I was gonna leave to move into Brown. And originally we had planned for her to come with us. We were gonna drive over there. Um, and because it was like that week that I was going to Brown, I had like everyone get COVID tested, like everyone that was planning to go get COVID tested. And my mom came out positive. So then she ended up having to stay, which was sad because, I wanted my mom to come, but she had to stay. My dad and I came out positive, and then like we got tested again to make sure because we were scared. Then we came out positive, and then even when I got to Brown, I was like, I'm gonna get tested and quarantined because I'm scared. So that happened. Um, but yeah, I'm pretty sure like my mom came out positive. Like she says that she had felt worse like in the week before. She felt like worse than she had that week. So maybe she was just like finishing like her like cycle of COVID. But yeah, that my mom and my dad had gotten COVID.
When you found out that your parents had COVID, how did you feel? Did it bring up, were you worried? Were you scared? How did you feel?
I was surprisingly not worried, which sounds bad. But my mom is already pretty healthy, so I mean, I assumed she would be fine. She looked fine too. I didn't even notice she had COVID. My dad, I was kind of a little bit more worried about, just because like he already has like other health conditions. So we were already worried about my dad. Like even before he got COVID, we just kept telling him to be careful. So we were kind of worried about that, but we're glad he came out fine. He just like rested the whole day, like multiple days. So I'm glad he came out fine, but my mom kind of like we didn't even notice she had COVID and it went away really fast for her, which I'm glad too.
Sometimes after someone has COVID, there's kind of some after effects that happen. Have your parents struggled with any of these things?
Not that I know of. I hope they don't struggle with it, but not that I know of. Yeah.
All right, so now to move away from the health topic and more into work related challenges, how has COVID impacted your work?
So when COVID happened, I was working retail in the mall. I was working at Levi's. And we I don't think they gave us like a time to come back. They were just like, we're closing and we'll let you know when we open back up. So I was basically off for like a month and a half. Um, Not a month and a half, probably more. It felt like a month and a half, but it was probably more. Yeah, I was off until June or maybe like early July. That's when I came back to work.
When you found out that you were going to be out of work for a while, did that bring up any kind of fear of financial hardships or anything like that?
Not really for me, just because I wasn't really working that much. So I wasn't really used to getting like a lot of money. And my money just stays with me. Like, it doesn't go to my parents or anything. Like, they're fine financially, like, with that. Like, they don't need my help. So my money's mine. So I wasn't really that worried and with having money like that.
How has COVID impacted your family's jobs?
So um, my parents like stayed working. My mom works as a custodian in a factory, so they didn't really make them stop working. Like everyone kept working. My dad's self-employed. He's a mechanic, so um, he kept working. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of sad to see my parents still working because I knew that like COVID was really bad and they should have just like stayed home. And like we would tell them that they probably shouldn't be going out. But, like we needed to make money. So they just kept working. My sister started working from home. Um, and I think my brother also kept working. for a while because I think he was in food service, so I'm pretty sure my brother kept working. But yeah.
How has COVID impacted you and your family in your day-to-day life?
I guess for my parents, it hasn't really affected them too much, just because they still go to work. You know, they still have like their routine. For me, it like affected it a lot, just because I mean I was used to just going to school and learning, coming back, or like having club, coming back, doing homework, going out with friends, things like that. Um, so it definitely affected me a lot. Um, and also like I mean we haven't gotten back to normal, so you know my college experience was definitely something different because of COVID. Um, I guess also with my sister, you know, she had to transition to working from home. So she definitely was impacted by COVID in that sense. Um, but yeah, I mean, it basically just like turned everything around.
How is going out into the world different um, now during COVID than before COVID?
Now it's just like obviously the mat. I mean, I've gotten used to masks, so I'm fine with wearing a mask. But I remember before it definitely did feel weird. Um, in that sense, you know, that's changed. You know, we have to wear a mask to go out, and just like the things that we just used to do, like to go like we used to go out to, you can't really do that anymore. Besides, like even just like eating at a restaurant feels weird. Um, but you know, like some restaurants are opening up now, so like I guess you can still do that. I remember going to the movie theaters a lot, and although they're like open and you can go, there's still like hesitation to go because you're scared of COVID. So, like, it like a lot has changed because not only is like you like physically you have to wear a mask and it's different, but also just like you're always wondering like, oh, like am I risking it? Like, should I just like stay home? Like things like that, I guess.
How, if at all, has COVID impacted your ability to gather with family and friends for important events?
Um, it's affected like hanging out with my friends. My family, like, we don't have any extended family near us, so like everyone who lives in the house is like our family. I guess like I have an older brother that lives in California, so we haven't been able to see him as often as we used to because of COVID. Um, so we haven't gotten to see him, and friends I'll only see like a couple times. When it comes to important events, like my family never like really does anything too big, so it usually does end up staying small anyway. So COVID hasn't like really affected that too much.
So would you say that like the holidays and birthdays really haven't been impacted that much?
Yeah, I don't think they've impacted that much. Just like I guess like for me because I'm used to having my friends at my birthday parties too. That has affected it. Like you can't really have too many friends over. Um, but yeah, when it's just like holidays that stays between family, it hasn't really affected it too much.
Who have you continued to interact with during COVID and why?
So I pretty much interact with my family. You know, I live with them. Um, and just like three or four close friends from back home. And like I guess like our bubble has kind of just stayed pretty small because we only see each other and then they only see their family and things like that. So those are the only people I've really seen. Um, I guess in college, you know, we also had our own little group too. So um, yeah, we I haven't really interacted too much with that many people.
What are your perspectives on going out? Do you feel unsafe?
Um, I mean, when COVID first started, I definitely did feel really unsafe. And even when like we were a couple months in, I felt unsafe just like being at work and having to like be around a lot of people during COVID. I felt unsafe. I guess now with like the vaccines coming out, like a lot of people have been double masking too. I mean, at least I see a lot of people double masking where I'm from, and at Brown. So um, I don't tend to feel unsafe anymore. It almost feels like we're like inching towards going back to normal. So yeah.
Have you participated in any protests recently? And how has COVID-19 impacted whether you decided to participate or not?
So I participated in a protest for Black Lives Matter, um, in like this past summer. Um, and I just everyone was wearing a mask, so that made me feel safe. But it definitely impacted like how long I participated. I remember like going with my friend and being like, yeah, like we can't stay that long because like we're scared of COVID. So we like walked a bit and then like we turned around. Um, and I also participated in like a small walk at Brown for end sexual violence. Um, and I mean, everyone was wearing a mask too. We were pretty socially distanced, so I didn't feel um, I didn't feel unsafe. And I mean, it happens now. It happened like just recently, so I haven't really been feeling unsafe about COVID either.
Have you or your family members been able to receive the vaccine? And have you faced any hardships trying to receive the vaccine?
So I received the vaccine like right when I got back from Brown. Um, I ended up getting the J&J because like my city, I wasn't noticing that my city was getting like the Pfizer or Moderna a lot. So I was, and like I only have a month here until I have to go back. So I was like really worried about getting my second dose in time. So I just got the J&J. But and I'm pretty sure if it hadn't gotten recalled, like my city would just be getting the J&J. But um there has been a lot of clinics popping up like really quickly for like the Pfizer and Moderna. So like I'm pretty sure. So we got my mom and my dad a vaccine just recently. My sister got a vaccine, my brother got one, and my older brother in California got one. So we're all basically like on track to get vaccinated, which I am glad about. But it kind of makes me think like if J&J hadn't like gotten recalled, I'm pretty sure everyone would have just gotten the J&J here.
How did you feel when you heard about the recall on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine? And how do you feel that that's the one that was most available to your community?
Um, so when it got recalled, I wasn't like too worried about it because it was like a really small rate of people getting like blood clots. So I wasn't really worried about it. I guess like the only thing that like I didn't really like about it was like the efficiency rate of it. Um, and I guess like because like my community is like a community of color and predominantly like low income, um, I it was just kind of like suspected to just get the J&J for us. So I wasn't like too surprised that we just had it. But yeah, yeah, the J&J didn't scare me too much with the blood clots, but yeah.
How do you feel that COVID has impacted your community specifically?
Um I I'm pretty sure cases haven't gone up like that badly here, which I'm glad about. I'm pretty sure like a lot of families are being safe. Um I don't like I can't really think of anything specific of like how COVID has impacted like the community. But I mean like because our high schools are big and like all of our schools are big, I'm pretty sure like no kids have gone back to school. So they've been impacted in that way. And like like all the seniors are like getting their senior year taken away, and it's like it's really sad to see that like the schools haven't found a way to like reach the students that well yet, or like still even with like a year into COVID. But yeah, other than that, I don't think my community has been affected like a lot by it.
Do you feel that your local government kind of handled the situation well, or was there things that they did poorly or could have done better? Or are there things that, your community still kind of needs but aren't being provided?
I think that we do have like a testing center nearby that's free. The lines are just super long. So I guess like something they could have done is like had more testing centers available for us. I remember like only ever getting tested when I would get scared of having COVID. So that's something they could have done for us. Definitely just like roll. I think they definitely took a while to roll out the vaccines too. So I'm pretty sure there's something like they could have done with that. And I'm pretty sure like there's a lot that the school district could have done as well, to help students transition into online learning. Yeah.
Looking back at the world pre COVID, are there things that you miss being able to do or being able to have?
Yeah, I mean, I miss just being able to just do anything and not really have to second guess your actions because of COVID. Um, and obviously, like I'm missing out on a whole like college experience, so like that's definitely something I'm sad about. Um, um, I'm trying to think of something else. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of things I really miss doing. I miss just like being able to, like, I was very involved in like clubs and sports, and so I guess like I really miss just like being in a group and like being in an event with a group. So yeah.
Once things with COVID are kind of over, what are some things that you're really looking forward to do again?
I'm definitely just like looking forward to attending a bunch of clubs and a bunch of events, concerts. I'm excited to go to amusement parks. Um, and I also really like to go to movie theaters. I just don't feel safe going to one right now. At least in my city, I'm not comfortable with going to it. So I'm definitely excited to go to a movie theater when COVID is over.
Do you feel like things will ever go back to normal, or do you think that what has happened and like COVID will always kind of be in the back of our minds and that certain things will be differently done differently? And if so, like, what do you think you're going to continue to do differently even once the pandemic is over?
Um, I think that a lot of people have taken a lot of away from the pandemic, like positives and negatives. At least for me, like COVID has taught me to just like be able to like sit with my family and like feel more connected with them. So I guess like for me, something I want to keep doing is like keeping that connection. Um, COVID has also just taught me to like find a way to slow down and like just like try to be at peace. Um, I guess like that's also something I'm gonna keep trying to do. Um, and I guess like COVID times have brought up just a lot of different issues for everyone. And I know that like those are the kinds of things that we'll just like continue to talk about after COVID. Um, and I mean I'm hopeful that COVID will be ending soon, hopefully. I don't think that everything will go back to like normal the way it used to be. I definitely think that like we still have like a lot to work on, like COVID wise. I mean, even if everyone gets the vaccine, like I don't think we'll ever just be like 100% safe. So I'm pretty sure there are like we'll like have some things that we need to transition into like getting back to normal. Um, also just like online learning accommodations are also something that like I'm pretty sure schools will be taking into the future. Um, yeah.
Okay, so now kind of just to wrap things up, is there anything else you would like to share with me about your experiences with COVID that I haven't asked about yet?
Not that I can think of. I think we covered a lot.
Okay, well, I think that's it then. Thank you so much for participating in this interview.
Thank you.